All right, November 3rd, 8:44 p.m. This everybody will recognize as Elon Musk, and on Halloween he's wearing his Satan's champion outfit, that he calls it, or the devil's champion. And this is a proclamation, obviously, that this is the richest man in the world, and he has bought Twitter, and he also owns the Satanic Neuralink, which is what is being promoted now at the New World Economic Forum by Klaus Schwab and his mentor, Noah Yuval Harari, as the future, this blissful future where people will become all powerful, just like Elon Musk is or Harari are, by joining their brains to a machine, but who you're joining your brain to is this. This is a symbol right here of Baphomet, Satan. They're being explicit about it because of the victory that Satan has achieved over the world now. That it's all going to be a horror story from this point out, and you're either going to have to choose one path or the other. There's no longer a middle ground to be of indifference or lukewarmness, which is the Laodicean church, because that's who God spits out of his mouth, is the Laodicean people that don't really feel they have to make up their mind who they're going to follow. And so it's easier by default to follow an Elon Musk because it's so much more charming and so much more exciting. And there's a better shot. There's the upside down cross, the clear reference to the beast and the beast system. Here's Baphomet. For anyone that doesn't know or understand, the Baphomet is often used to represent Satan. Names for the devil are numerous. Besides Lucifer, he may be referenced or referred to as the Prince of Darkness, the Beelzebub, that's Lord of the Flies, Mephistopheles. That's who Karl Marx identified with, and Karl Marx was a Satanist, and he wrote about it in his letters in his archives, his worship of Satan, and also his hatred of mankind. Baphomet, Lord of the Flies, Beelzebub, the Antichrist, father of lies, Moloch, or simply Satan. Moloch is money, or Baal. And that is what Elon Musk is. He's the richest man in the world. So we're worshiping Moloch, or we're worshiping Baal when we worship Neuralink and Elon Musk. Here's the reason why you see the children next to the statue is because the pagan practice was to, that should be minus an O, was to, and still is to, sacrifice children to Satan. This is going on. It's going on continually. It's always been going on for centuries. The Phoenicians sacrificed children.
Trying to destroy a target. Well, if you use a nuclear weapon, President Zelensky, according to the Ukrainian media, a spokesman for the Ukrainian media, announced that he was directing the establishment of a cell consisting of engineers and scientists, Ukrainians, of course, and that they were going to work on a quote-unquote dirty bomb development. And as you point out, the so-called dirty nuclear bomb involves the use of conventional explosives with spent uranium from a conventional nuclear power plant. This uranium is not weapons grade. That is, it's not plutonium, it's not enriched, but it can be used in combination with a conventional explosive to effectively contaminate a very large area that could result in people becoming very ill with radiation poisoning or worse. Now, this was roughly 3-4 weeks ago. This was not the first time that President Zelensky has brought up the issue of nuclear weapons. Last year, long before this war even started, he raised issues about arming Ukraine with nuclear weapons. These kinds of things were largely ignored, but he mentioned it again in January, and the Russians made it clear that if a nuclear weapon was used against them, they would retaliate. But Putin has said from the very beginning that the Russians have no intention of using nuclear weapons in Ukraine or anywhere in Eastern Europe. And they've said, he personally has said that several times, and that nuclear weapons are purely retaliatory. Now, recently, the Russians have become concerned because they say they've detected real evidence for the effort to build such a weapon. I have no idea. I do know, though, the following. First of all, Ukraine is not only losing this war, Ukraine is very close to collapse, the very opposite of what. And I think as a result, they're extremely desperate. And one act of desperation would be to use such a weapon in proximity to Russian troops.
So that's the reality there. This has been confirmed from multiple sources that Ukraine is on the verge of collapse. And so there's the only danger that we're running at the moment is that Ukraine, out of desperation, is going to set off a dirty bomb, which could precipitate any kind of nuclear exchange. You have no idea because these are like split second decisions people are going to make. If it's even people making them, it could be AI for all I know, for all anybody knows. That's where Elon Musk and the maniacs who are turning the world over to artificial intelligence, which becomes more and more conscious every day, and they think this is a good thing. And I think that it's the demonic rule of Satan. There is no turning back. You can't play around with putting a computer chip in your forehead or your head or your hand or your brain stem without becoming a computer. It takes over. I was listening to Klaus Schwab in 2016 in an interview in France. It's on another YouTube video when he says that you're going to have a dialogue. You'll have a conversation between the computer and yourself. Well, that's just a complete lie. It's an absolute lie that if you're watching, and Marshall McLuhan pointed this out in his research on the effects of media on the human brain, that humans are passive. They're in a passive state when they're watching media. Like whoever's watching an MTV video is in a completely passive state, and they're being programmed. Their brains are being programmed neurologically by that information, by visual information that they're not conscious of seeing. And the robots are all being sold. And also, Schwab is talking about you're going to have a butler, and what the robots that are coming into onto the marketplace in China are sex robots, just like they've always had these mail order sex dolls. The Japanese marry because they're so alienated from human beings, but also not just Japanese, but in America, Lars and the Real Girl, that Gosling film was all about it. It's all over the world, this nightmarish new world chaos. but it's planned at the top. It's not something that's happening by out of chaos. It's planned by the Masonic, Templar, Rosicrucian, Jesuit, whatever you want to call these rulers of the world. They act, the bloodlines, the monarchic bloodlines. They actually do rule the world. They make the decisions. That they're the decider, like George Bush. It's like don't understand why that isn't really clear. That it isn't. That things aren't just happening randomly, and that God is overall letting this happen because, just as it says in the Bible, that there'll be a period when He leaves the earth entirely. My belief is He's already left America, that He's turned His back on this hellhole where we are continually throwing satanic ceremonies in His churches, along with sex change operations and drag queens and everything else. And the church at large is going along with this without saying anything other than, oh, it's not in my church. Right, it's not in your church. Oh, you're singing the same music that's in the other churches with the drag queens. What do you think they're singing? What do you think? There's a Christian rock group at the top of the charts that's a death metal group that looks, is a low budget version of Ozzy Osbourne, and that Elon Musk is just a joke, that has satanic imagery with a red breastplate, dressed like, guess what, a Roman soldier is what he looks like, right? And what did the Romans do to Christians? And what did Karl Marx do to Christians? And what do Chinese communists do to Christians? And what's going on in Nigeria? And where is the outcry from the Christian community? Well, there's none from the Pope, with the Chinese Communist Party jailing and who knows, torturing prisoners. We don't know what's going on inside the Chinese jail. We just know they've shut down the Catholic and the Christian churches, and they have their substitute churches just like we do. The Kenneth Copeland ministries, there's like 30 ministers. I just saw that Jesse Duplantis and Benny Hinn and Mike Bickle and Joyce Meyer and Beth Moore. And I'm not that familiar with most of them, but it was one of the Reform Wiki sites or treasures. I don't even know what they're called. But it's all, Justin Peters is one of the people that is showing how heretical and fraudulent that churches are. They're more fraudulent to me than even Justin Peters is saying, because they won't speak up, because they want to win an election of all things, as if this isn't the Roman Empire. Things are really dark in this time on earth. They're really dark. And I'm not going to soft pedal it, and I'm not going to pretend that there's a renewal coming. I think that's the most bizarre. Where is that going to come from? Not from these churches, I'll tell you that much. People speaking in tongues, that's demonic. I saw John Lennon speaking in tongues, and he's part of the whole Masonic Crowley, as he's called. I keep mispronouncing his name. And I'm not trying to just emphasize Crowley. He's just part of the general pagan belief system. He's the most extreme in terms of, he separated out from the society with Yeats in it, the Order of the Golden Dawn, and formed the Ordo Templis, whatever. I can't keep the names straight, but I know what the activities are, and I know who is associated with them, and I know what the whole of California became during the 60s, and it hasn't changed since. That was a complete takeover of the minds of the counterculture generation, with oh, carry on, love is coming for us all. I heard that in a Christian coffee shop the other day. I mean, you get real. Where is the love exactly in the Beatles, the pop music scene? Where is the faithfulness to their wives? Where are they raising children in a righteous, godly environment and manner? Like, this is not the Mennonite church out there, I'll tell you that much. And it's just a complete repudiation. All I'm saying is, I'm not condemning people. I wish that people would get that idea out of their heads. I'm not condemning people to hell. I'm not saying that anything other than there's a Christian faith and it's very strict, and then there's the broad path that has really terrible consequences. And I wish there was some spell I could put on people so they would listen to this alarm bell that I keep sounding. To look at the wages of sin, that see all these cities that are disintegrating into open air, drug dens filled with disease, filled with crime, people are killing each other on the streets, as well as they're assaulting people, and the police departments are, they're corrupt, of course, because that's what the rule of Satan amounts to. The courts are corrupt, the politicians are corrupt, the churches are corrupt. But that doesn't mean there's no Jesus Christ. It's quite the opposite. It means that there is a Jesus Christ. It just means that this is the biblical narrative when human beings, as Jesus said, the end days will be worse than in the times of Noah. And it is worse because there is going to be this prolonged death and millions and millions of people. Just because we haven't seen it here, it's beginning here. But just to turn our backs on what's happening in Europe, what's happening in Africa, what's happening in the Americas, and has been happening, and think that it doesn't have anything to do with us when we're the people that are have marauded just like the Roman Empire or any other empire. It's time to pull out of Babylon. It's time to pull out of the Matrix, whatever you want to call it, the Borg, as these sci-fi people call it. The assimilation, people being, assimilated into a simulation, the simulacra, the artificial intelligence is dangerous. It's not just dangerous to people as a whole. It's deadly dangerous to people that are integrating their own consciousness with it. I think that's why you have this Mandela effect, where people don't remember the past, that they have a completely false memory of the past. It's called the Mandela effect because people became a completely uniform belief that Nelson Mandela had died in 1983 when he lived long past that. So they're not even paying attention to the reality that Mandela's history extends beyond when everybody believed he died. But that's what happens when you have mass psychosis. Everybody just keeps saying the same thing back and forth, and then that becomes the truth. Nobody's reading books. Nobody's reading something that's handheld, or you can read them on PDFs. You can read them. There's lots of blogs that do research, but the moving image is really what's the most dangerous thing, to be colonizing your thought. When you're just passive, watch your murder mysteries or watch your Jeopardy or watch your sitcoms or that's programming. That's creating your mind. That's creating your identity. You start imitating that. Everybody goes out and talks just like to people on the sitcom. The 50s, I noticed that with my wife, ex-wife, and their whole family. It was just like being on a sitcom stage. They're all making their little one. They're not funny, just like sitcoms aren't funny. At least they aren't funny to me. I think without the laugh tracks, there'd be nothing funny at all. If you watch those, they're cued again. It's mind control. You cue people with to laugh at something that isn't funny. Oh, hi everybody. Hey, Sheldon, what are you doing? Ah, watch an episode of Big Bang Theory and watch the opening episode. People are cued to laugh just because they think the characters are funny. Doesn't matter what they roll their eyes or it's just like Jim Carrey or Jerry Lewis, like pratfall. It's hilarious. It's like it's not adult content, so your mind is being turned to jello by this stuff, so you can't think clearly. And so if somebody's talking about the war in Ukraine and you're being told that we're winning because Vladimir Zelensky is appearing with Sean Penn or Bono is in the Kiev subway singing, One World Love or whatever his bullshit is, and let's hold our hands and we are the people and that we got to stop that war criminal and we started the war to begin with. You don't look at the actual reality which is readily available in any historical account, C-SPAN or the Douglas McGregor or whomever who I was just playing, any Colonel Black, any of these disinterested who aren't part of the Pentagon lie machine and who are disturbed that this farce has gone on to the point where we're going to disintegrate. It's not just the disintegration of the earth, it's the disintegration of people's minds. If you're so far detached from reality that you'll believe anything, you'll believe 1984's Big Brother all the time saying, oh yeah, I read Big Brother. Yeah, I know that's terrible, the Big Brother Society. I don't believe the New York Times at all, except, whoa, you know what's happening in the war in Iraq, where did you read that? Oh, the New York Times. I'm just going to keep one little voice that's trying to restore factual news and reality to the people of the United States that don't want to hear it. And now I'll play some Celestial. She's one of the most articulate people on the internet, describing much better than the science people, actually. She's a Christian, but she's a lot more organized and articulate about what is going on with the New World Order.
I'm continuing with the beast system prophecies because I have been making these bit by bit over the years, but now I'm just sort of consolidating a few things. Now that we see that the changing political system, we can finally understand what that system is turning into. That system is turning into the end times one world governance structure that is spoken about in the Bible, in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verses 7 to 28. That is also, please excuse the noise, that is also spoken about in the book of Revelation, chapter 13. And you can find out also a tiny bit of that structure coming to life in Revelation, chapter 17. So now that we know politically clearly what God says the next steps are going to be, what we can expect to see happening, what can we expect to see happening? Absolute confusion, absolute subterfuge, nothing being done the way it's supposed to be done. We can also look at details of what that system will look like when it actually comes to pass. A lot of people think that when I'm giving my dreams, they think I'm talking about some amorphous tribulation period. I'm talking about the next steps that are coming. I'm talking about things that we, if we are vigilant, if we are watchful, we can already see the tendrils of these things on the news. We can already see the tendrils of these things coming. And God is simply showing what the final look of those things will be. What will it look like when they build their false New Jerusalem made of that flexible, bendable blue metal? What will it look like when they automate past what we have? What we have now is automation that is convenient. What will it look like when they automate past the point where it is comfortable? What will it look like when people are dealing with difficulties like end of life care and there is no doctor there? They will reduce the medical force, reduce it, introduce more robots, first to assist the doctors, then to replace the nurses as assistants to the doctors, and then get rid of the doctor altogether. And some cold machine will scan a person and then tell them you have functionality here, medium functionality here, next to nothing here, and your overall assessment is that you are more of a liability than an asset, and therefore we will deny you care. What will that look like?
And I'll interject here. That's already happened in Canada. That's happening in Canada, where they have socialized medicine. That was what always Americans are screaming, oh, we want to have universal health care like in Canada. They didn't have universal health care in Canada. Whoever gave you that idea? They have euthanasia in Canada now, and what they do is just what Celestial says. If people are going to be too much of a burden, it costs too much to extend their life, then they don't have any more health care. They exhaust their benefits. So they're offered the kind and compassionate option of being terminated. That's what the euthanasia movement is all about. So that's what the robots are all about. And the robots aren't just so you can have sex or you can have a butler do all your work and think for you and have these brilliant conversations, as Klaus Schwab tells you. It's also to babysit and program your children so you can get on with your brilliant careers, just like you've always been doing, giving them a video machine. It'll be much more, and it already is. I see them on the commercials coming on to my channels, to my YouTube, waiting for a YouTube to load. You get little Sparky, the little dog, and isn't he cute? And he's with your little kid, and you can he'll let you decide what sex you want to be, or whatever these AI are. Is they're not human, and they don't know what it is to be human, and they have no morality. They're like the devil. Their morality is just like Celestial describes. You're not functional, and so bye, time to go. Oh, it's a eugenics program, incidentally. The eugenics programs have never stopped with Adolf Hitler. And who was the Planned Parenthood? Margaret Sanger. She was a eugenicist. She was a Hitler admirer, and vice versa. And the Tuskegee Airmen and lobotomies and you name it. It doesn't have anything to do with black people or Jews, or it has to do with eliminating substandard human beings that Satan is happy to take their souls. So he, doesn't matter if they're perfect, unless they're perfect and they can have their perfect genes and they can have this master race. Everybody will be really brilliant, super brilliant, like Elon Musk and Klaus Schwab and Mark Zuckerberg. We're worshiping them. It's really obvious that we're worshiping the machines. We're worshiping, high intelligence. Whether that high intelligence is out to massacre, which is what it's doing, it's out to massacre. And Yuval Noah Harari has been perfectly clear about the useless eaters. He shows them sitting there in front of with their video games. I mean, they're like turning this world into a slaughterhouse, a charnel house, and that's the future. that is the future. Anybody telling you different is bullshitting you. Anybody telling you that there's going to be happy days and we're going to triumph with the latest app and the latest trip to, the latest, you won't only get a neural link, but you'll get new programming, it'll get more functionality. Everything, it's dysfunctionality. Everything's the opposite. Good is evil and evil is good. The truth is a lie and the lies are the truth. And just like Orwell said, ignorance is strength. The more ignorant you are, the better off you'll be. You just have to be strong and be the Stakhanovite. That's what the Russians and the Germans, they had their strength through muscle power, your Aryan strength. You look at all the fascisti, and where does that come from? The fascists, the rap bundles that Abraham Lincoln has on top of two of them. He was the Freemasonic order, and fascism was minted by Mussolini because it's all Masonic. It's Freemasonic. It's rulership of the world by the dark powers. And war and war and more war. There's no peace component to it. It's just war to the last man. And Abraham Lincoln wasn't any more benevolent than Jefferson Davis or Barack Obama or any world leader. They're not in the business of, petting dogs and kissing babies. You see, nobody believes that stuff unless they're long dead, and then all of a sudden they're. Lincoln had Asperger's syndrome. He was a manic depressive, and his wife was crazy, and he was a Mason. And that war was an economic war for control of the United States. And the South wanted an independent country. They didn't want anything to do, just like Russia and its Russian Federation. They wanted an independent country. They don't want anything to do with the West. The South didn't want anything to do with the North. But they were forced back into the Union because they had the agricultural land that the Union needed for part of the United States. The North had the manufacturing, the South had the agriculture. And that's why it ran on slavery. So you made an issue over that, which is an evil institution. Everything's evil. That's biblical. Everything is evil. Satan is the kingdom of the earth is run by Satan. That's biblical. So how do you think he's running it if he's not running it through the world leaders and the military forces and the doctors and spy agencies and the technology and everything else? So you either join him and have worldly success and benefit, or you take the other road where you pick up your cross and you're crucified, or you deny your own self and you give of yourself to other people and have possessed nothing. So there's a curious irony, isn't there? Because that's what Klaus Schwab is offering. It's to possess nothing. Are people happy with that? No, they're not. But they didn't. That's the sleight of hand. You'll be happy. You asked for communism. That's what communism is. They're going to deliver it. They're delivering it. The digital currency. You'll own nothing. You're going to own nothing after the housing collapses. It's just an early, I'm giving whoever's viewing this, I'm giving them an early warning so they can get prepared for what's to come. And I'm recommending to be spiritually prepared because the what would you say, the fix is in, the fix is in. People have made a lot of bad decisions in America in terms of who they elect, but you get the government you deserve. You buy this con artists, and keep listening to them. No, listen to the Jeff Bezos, Washington Post, or Nationalist Public Radio. Who's Nationalist Public Radio? Well, it's the MacArthur Foundation, or it's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, or it's Agribiz. It's all corporate money, plus your tax money as well, for the corporations to better lie to you. And what do the NPR people? They make huge salaries. They're in the ruling elite for reading the bloody news, which is a bunch of lies. It's like Big Brother is paid, a fortune, while they're presenting a false reality, and that's all the way down through to the entertainment section, where, hey, we've got the greatest entertainment in the world. We got to go out and see Hamilton. It's a hip hop version of the guy who gave us the Federal Reserve Bank? What do you think about that? Isn't that wonderful? The banking class, they're the greatest, aren't they? Yay. We love the banking class. They're like taking care of us. Everybody's going to be rich because they've all got their investments, and they're going to, you got to follow this person or that person, and if you get Amazon at this price, it's going to be $1 million. And what does Amazon come from? That's the book of Isaiah, that women and children will rule them. I'll say this a couple times because this is really important. This is what just occurred to me. I've always noted that description of the last days where women and children will rule them. And it's really clear that Hillary is running Bill Clinton like Lady Macbeth and Lord Macbeth. Hillary is, Bill Clinton's glad to go along with war and murder and everything else, but Hillary is positively, she's cackling when she hears about the Benghazi, the people losing their lives. She's laughing her head off, and the senator says, "Well, what's funny about it?" I've never seen anything like it. And a testimony over people killed in a bombing our own citizens. She's laughing, or other wars. There's a whole reel of Hillary laughing at death, just like Nancy Pelosi rubbing her hands and a big smile on her face when Joe Biden is talking about burn pits. That's because it's satanic. See, they love to see people die and people being murdered. That's just the reality of satanic agendas and the beast system. The Amazon, as I say, is the Amazonian women. The Amazons was in Amazonia. They ruled over the Greek men, the Greek myth. So you have Amazon women, the Amazonians. They're now the warriors. They're going to be in kickboxing, kick your teeth out like Charlize Theron, kicking ass. Here come the Russians. Give them Charlize Theron. She'll knock the hell out of them. It's this. Is that the kind of woman that guys want today? I guess. They're more muscled. They're gonna have a death struggle, strangling each other like Pritzi's honor. And the Amazonian ruler is Jeff Bezos, and what does he run? The Washington Post newspaper. That's telling you all the truth. And who's going to benefit when the diesel fuel runs out? It's Amazon trucks and drones. It's a full cyber network. You don't need to run big trucks anymore because that's going to pollute the environment. And you've got to get rid of the cows because they're polluting the environment. So Bill Gates can make food out of Soylent Green, line up and you got to eat it because it's all you can afford. beef prices will go through the roof if it's even available. This is the last of the you don't just grow cattle back after they've all been slaughtered, and that was all planned because they drove the price of cattle feed and fertilizer for crops up through the roof before they were planted. Then you had the drought on top of that. That's an act of God. Really, what you have in tandem is God is not happy with us, and Satan is happy to take as many people as he can while he has the time. He has a certain time period before Jesus returns. And this is why we're in a state of false messiahs and false Christs who can deceive even the elect if it were possible. And you'll see all of the most Christians are happy to stick with, you see them in front of Kenneth Copeland or Andy Stanley, just thrilled to death to be given this pablum or, Mardi Gras kind of Christianity. It's a happy days. This is not happy days coming. You're in a daze, really, if you think that the U.S. hasn't lost these wars that it's in, that it's going to defeat China and India and the BRICS countries and OPEC and the Americas. Russia's putting nuclear weapons in Nicaragua and in Cuba. They have submarines that's 90 miles off the coast of Florida, and we have a lunatic in Zelensky who everybody thinks, because he's been on TV and he's on the cover of Vogue magazine or Vanity Fair with his beautiful wife, and he's a typical oligarch. He's just like the other tin pot dictators that we support, and then after they've destroyed their country, that we come in and they'll get out on a helicopter with all the loot. Like in Afghanistan, they just abandoned the country. He doesn't have any interest or concern for all the people that are dying any more than any other, than Mussolini or Hitler or just go down the list: Pol Pot, Xi Jinping, Barack Obama, Donald Trump. Yeah, I mean, they are what they are. That is the New World Order. I mean, it's not like Henry Kissinger. He's up there. Kissinger's against the war. At least he has some sense. At least but nobody's listening to him anyway because he's irrelevant. He's exhausted his service to the dark powers. And there's hell to pay now. I'll just keep tracking it day by day, and what I see is there's no light on this particular horizon, and things are going to there'll be some kind of false flag event. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's going to be the dirty bomb. I don't know whether it's going to be the banking crisis, liquidity crisis, which is the banks freezing the currency. I don't know if it's going to be the diesel fuel and everything locked down of some sort. I just, because the banks can be shut, all you have to do, no matter what happens, you just blame it on Russia. They've already pulled that off a dozen times. The Americans say, oh yeah, it's Russia. Oh, it's Putin, it's evil Putin. Biden keeps saying it, gas prices are up because of Putin, this and that because of Putin. And now it'll be, the banks were hacked. We had your funds are all frozen. We don't know. It's all chaos. We must have been hit by a cyber attack. We're doing the best we can. Facebook is down. Blah, whatever they have planned, they'll blame on Russia, because there's nothing that the Federal Reserve is doing that is good for this economy. There's nothing the EU bankers are doing that's good for the people of Europe, the Christine Lagardes and the heads of government in France, their people are all, because they participated in this war and the pipelines being destroyed by Great Britain. Their people are going to freeze. They don't care about their people. They're not going to freeze. They're going to be in. Lots of them have their own private underground cities and swimming pools and what have you. You should see some of this stuff. I mean, Google it. I've put it up before, but they're people thinking that these the people in the intelligence community and in the military, and I'm not talking about just our country. I'm saying that there is not a country anymore. That's a fiction in terms of there being a leadership that is not going to sell out its citizens if it means they're going to live in luxury and a vacation paradise with all the women or men, whichever their preference is, far, far away from it all. Of course, it's not going to happen, but they think it is because they've been given this power and they're exercising it. And so that's what's happening tonight, November 3rd. Time to sign off. God bless everybody.